on. We're going. Welcome everybody. This is kind of like a late night special. I'll still hit you with the usual intro though. Whatever. What's up, fans? Welcome to this late night special edition version of the Harold McBasketball Show. I'm your host, as always, Harold McBasketball. Super special night tonight, Paul. I'm with them as always. How you doing? Are you excited? Obviously, the Damian Lillard trade just went through today, and kind of a big surprise where we saw him go to the Bucks. Instead of really like any other teams we were hearing about, Raptors and Heat were kind of we're starting to hear a lot about them recently. So kind of a big surprise. How you feeling?
I thought we were here to react to the Kelly Oubre signing. I was misinformed.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's obviously the big headline. So we can start there. Huge signing for the Sixers. Can't believe it. What a steal.
Right? Yeah, he's a good player, great defender. I'm feeling good about my Sixers hot take, maybe finishing as the top seed. Got
Yeah,
Dan.
I imagine Andy's like absolutely in shambles right now that he had not foreseen such like a massive signing for the Sixers happening. So I think he's probably ready to throw his Sixers missing playoffs take right in the trash after this signing.
I still love the take though, and I
Me
forgot
too. It's
that
bold.
they have D'Anthony Melton. I love D'Anthony Melton, so that Sixers team's really coming together, and I could see them, fixing their shit. And there's some reports Harden. Okay, I'm kidding. Okay, let's react to the Damian Lillard trade, the blockbuster trade
Let's do it.
that took place this afternoon. Let's see. I'll read this.
Yeah, let's hit us with some trade details. See if we can get some minutia in there, including some of the smaller names if you have it in front of you.
All right. So Lillard goes to Milwaukee as part of a 3-team deal with Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, and a 2029 unprotected Milwaukee first and unprotected Milwaukee swap rights in 2028 and 2030 to the Blazers. Phoenix lands Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson.
Some of them are NBA players.
Right. I've heard of Keon. I've heard of Nasir Little and Keon.
I've like heard of Nasir Little, but I just know he's like not particularly good.
I
And
couldn't.
then Keon Johnson, I'm not very familiar with.
I don't
But
think I could.
Grayson Allen, we know. I think Grayson Allen's kind of a fun addition to this Phoenix team. I feel like every playoff contending team needs just like they just need like a little asshole who's gonna get the other team riled up. Maybe have some timely technical fouls. So no, that's a fun addition. Um, Fascinating trade though, super weird, very much out of left field. As I mentioned earlier, really felt like, and as we mentioned, believe the other day in our podcast, we were like, this is dumb to talk about. Like it's so obvious that the Heat have the best deal. I don't know why they're waiting. It felt like it was like out of spite for the Heat because they were mad that they essentially like colluded with Lillard to try to make that move happen. And then for a second, maybe it felt like the Raptors. We were saying the other day the Raptors deal just didn't feel like it was as good as what the Heat had put together. And then this deal kind of came out of nowhere. And like looking at it, I think if I'm gonna give like really quick like who I think winners and losers are. It's like immediately like I think huge win for the Bucks. Like it's a huge upgrade going from Drew Holiday, who's like a fringe all-star player, to like Lillard, who's like perennial all-star, all NBA at his best, like near MVP status. Like huge upgrade, big win for the Bucks is an amazing move for them. Obviously. I think the Blazers did well. I think it's a little up for debate if this was like their best deal. I kind of think it is. I think this is a really nice haul. I still like DeAndre Ayton's potential a lot, and I think Holiday is good because you can probably just flip him for another pick or two. So I think that's pretty nice, and I think like three picks from Milwaukee like could be good. Although I do kind of think that they'll still be good, around like 2028 because I imagine they'll be honest for a while. Kind of the big loser though. I thought the Suns kind of got cleaned up on. Like I thought that they were like used as the middleman in this trade and kind of got fleeced. I don't
Mm,
know. There's not a big appeal. If I'm like the Suns management to go from Aiden to Nurkic, like I just think Nurkic is always hurt. Not particularly good. I know that they just didn't like Aiden, so they wanted to get rid of him. But I'm like surprised this is like all they could get for him.
yeah, I think well said. Obviously, the Blazers get the 2029 pick, so that's a few years down the road, and then they can swap. I think unprotected 2028 and 2030. So that could be interesting because that could kind of be post Lillard experiment. I mean, Giannis is still very young, but
Hmm.
who knows? So much can change, and that kind of gives the Blazers a cheeky security for the future there, I would say. I have a similar reaction. I don't know. For me, DeAndre Ayton, I'm not huge on. After I saw his 10 things GQ, those videos they do where they pick 10 things.
Oh yeah, that was a mess, and he was such a liar during it. I'm like, you don't use this stuff. You don't carry this stuff around. What are you doing? What are you talking about?
He brought books and then admits in the same sentence that he doesn't read. He like never reads the books.
Yeah, and a good thing he owned up to it. We were totally gonna spine check him. It was very obvious those books had not been opened.
Yeah, they were looking way too pristine. And yeah, no, DeAndre Ayton's a great player. And obviously there were chemistry issues with Monty Williams, who's no longer the coach, and I think even with Booker, I don't know how his relationship is with Durant, but I imagine it's nothing too special. But yeah, Nurkic is very, very injury prone, old school center, but
Very old school.
in theory, if he's healthy, I do like him, and I like that he's probably a better rebounder than Aiden, and maybe a slightly better passer. But yeah, nowhere near as good of a scorer or a defender, I would say.
Yeah, and he feels like one of those like slow plodding centers. Like we kind of mentioned the other day when we were talking about Walker Kessler, how it's like we do think there can be a renaissance for these bigger centers, but only if they're kind of like quick on their feet and more agile than they appear to be. And I think like Nurkic like really is like the epitome of the old time centers whose time is up. It's like I just don't think he's quick enough to really be an effective defender. Um, God, and his stats are so much worse than I realized. Oh my God, like I just don't know if this guy's very good. Like look at his stats from last year. He played 52 games, which is like pretty substantial. He averaged 13 points per game, 9 rebounds, which is like 9 rebounds is respectable for 27 minutes. But I don't know if I'm like stoked to trade my former number one overall pick for someone who's just like a good rebounder. 3 assists is decent, but I'm like the scoring's not there in a big way. He's obviously not really an impact defender, averaging less than a steal per game, less than a block per game. I don't know. This does nothing for me. And I kind of wonder like how many minutes can this guy actually play for a team like the Suns? Like, because this isn't like a 30 plus minutes starter for a team. Like he can start, but I feel like he's like a best case scenario, like 20 minutes per game, 25 minutes per game, which then like opens up a lot of question marks as to like who gets the rest of those minutes at center. They need someone else who's going to play like 20 minutes then to cover that. I don't know, Bull. Like, is that who they're putting in? I don't really know.
Drew
I
Eubanks.
feel like I should do like Eubanks. Eubanks is a good addition. So you're probably right that like, yeah, this probably ends up being like a timeshare between Nurkic and Eubanks, but I don't know. I just don't really see how this move makes the Suns a better team. It's like I think their ceiling is just higher when you have Aiden there, and like they let Monty Williams go, so it's like yeah, there were like a lot of problems there, but like Monty's gone, so I feel like they had a chance to try to repair things with Aiden, and then things didn't go well. So I just feel like you could have gotten more out of him. I don't know.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, Grayson Allen adds a bit of depth. I like what he brings. I've always liked Grayson Allen, despite him kind of being a bit of an asshole at times on the court with some dirty plays. I don't know. I've always kind of still appreciated his game and his shooting and his toughness. But like you said, yeah, Nurkic, it seems like best case scenario, he's playing like 50, 55 games again. Probably playing far less than that. And then, yeah, I don't know. Eubanks and Bull, they don't have much center depth. So yeah, I do wonder how bad things were, how strained the relationship was with Aiton, because you're right, they kind of just felt like they were kind of used a bit in this trade.
Yeah, and it definitely feels like they did it in a hurry. Like it's almost like I'm sure they've been shopping Aiden, didn't really have any interest. They certainly could have waited, but I guess they're in this like win now mode, and they must have just felt like things were too afraid to continue to where like the opportunity came for them to move Aiden. But like if you kind of like view it from the perspective of the Trailblazers, like this is such a good addition, I think. Like I think he pairs so well with Scoot. Like you have Scoot, third overall pick from this draft, has amazing potential, and then you get to pair, DeAndre Ayton with him now, who is this huge imposing center, gonna be great for running the pick and roll. It just like makes a ton of sense in my brain. It's like it feels like such a value play for the Blazers, it's like for how much value the Blazers are getting out of this move, it's like how are like the Bucks getting Lillard? Because I almost feel like the Suns gave up more. I think the Suns gave up more than the Bucks gave up, but the Bucks got Lillard. Granted, like
That's
the Bucks did give up the picks, but like they gave up like Holiday and picks.
yeah,
Um,
a pick
and
and
like
two
the
swaps.
Suns gave up like a former number one overall pick, and it's like I just feel like they got nothing in return. I was like ultimately like yeah, I think the Bucks probably gave up a little bit more, but I don't know. It just it feels like a good haul for the Trailblazers to get like picks like and like such a blue chip young prospect.
Yeah. It feels like the center of the issue. I mean, Aiden, maybe his personality isn't great or whatever, but it feels like he's always wanted more touches. And
And he'll get him, which I think is perfect.
right. And he's a guy that averages like the quietest 20 plus points every year. He's a solid rebounder, good enough defender, like he's pretty nimble.
Yeah,
Um,
I have him like penciled in as like 20 and 10 next season on the Blazers. Like I think
yeah.
he's at least going to put up amazing numbers. I think it's possible that, and he's still young. Yeah, I think like the Blazers probably aren't going to be that good, so it's gonna be like a little bit tough to figure out like how empty calories it is or not. Because like we still need to see a little bit more from him defensively for like his size, and it feels like he doesn't play that physical in the low post. Like even though he is huge, like he still kind of loves his touch
Yeah.
shots and his mid ranges. So there's a lot of room for his game to grow, but I think he'll finally have the opportunity to do that now on the Trailblazers, a team that is rebuilding. So we'll see. I'm super interested to see how this pans out. But I think like long term, this is going to look like such a steal for the Blazers.
For this to the Suns' credit, though, I will say that they are saving 15 million a year. And like come playoffs, like, if Nurkic is healthy, which is like a massive asterisk, I think that guy's tough. He's kind of, battle tested. And Aiden, I think, has, come playoffs, really rocked the boat and kind of thrown them, into some murky waters with how kind of inconsistent and the personality is not there. Like Nurkic, to his credit, plays well, I think. In big moments on the international stage in the playoffs before, like he can stretch the floor pretty well. He's not a better player than Aiden by any means, but like he might be the better fit, or at least just given his personality and toughness, that might just be enough to have a more positive impact come playoffs than Aiden has had.
Yeah,
Devil's
I think
advocate.
no, I think that's a fair take. Especially because when you look at the Suns roster, it's definitely possible that they were going to run into the issue just too many mouths to feed. Like Beal, Booker, Katie, Aiden, somebody was going to be unhappy. Aiden was already unhappy. So odds are like that was probably going to continue as his touches like diminished even further with the addition of Beal. So it makes sense. And that's probably how they saw it. It's like they're probably like, we're not going to be able to maximize Aiden's potential anyway because we have so many other people on offense. Like we don't really need someone who has the offensive capabilities that Aiden has. They're like, so they certainly were in a position where they're like, we're paying so much money to these other three people. Maybe we do just save a little bit of money at the center position, which probably is fine. Like honestly, like does this make the Suns worse? Maybe a little bit, but I don't think like dramatically worse.
Yeah. And all in all, I mean, they've added so much depth since last year. I mean, maybe not
Yeah.
the best move here, but like aside from their center position, they have some really good depth. I think they've really snagged some good players. I don't think Keon Johnson and Nasir Little are particularly good, but like who knows? Maybe one of them will end up being better than expected. I don't know. I
Yeah.
probably couldn't identify them if I tried. Like if I saw them on the street, I wouldn't know who they are, but
And a little bit of wing depth isn't bad because like from what I've seen from this year little, like he is like an athletic specimen. Like he's big, he's jacked, really explosive. So maybe he is somebody who can come in and just like play some hard defense for like 10 or 15 minutes a game. If they can get that out of him, that's like a huge win. And then also just talking about like the Aiden to Nurkic move, kind of like I pulled up Aiden's playoff stats for fun, and like last season the playoffs he averaged 13 and 10. So if you kind of look at that, it's like that's like pretty easy to replace. If you're only getting 13 points per game out of him anyway in the playoffs,
what
then like I guess it's fine. But this might be more of like this might be more of like a money saving move for the Suns slash just like culture move rather than a talent move. Like I think they know they're not upgrading their talent with this move
13-10 is what Nurkic averaged, so it's perfect.
in the regular season, though, right? Like I would expect Nurkic's numbers to like also take a dip come playoff time, but
No,
like
they would go up, I think.
okay, we'll see, we'll see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I don't hate Nurkic. Also, I think he's a decent guy. I we haven't talked at all about the Bucks.
No.
The
Why are
Bucks
we
kind of
hyper
kind
focused on
of
the Suns?
yeah, because and the thing about the Bucks is like we kind of know, um, we know what's happening here. Like we know this is a great move. We know they get a lot better. It's not as it's almost like not as spicy as what's happening with some of the other teams, but still incredibly spicy. Like this is a great move for them. I saw that it immediately made them um essentially number one in title odds. So like they're now the title favorite after this move. Um, I would bet on the Nuggets again. I still think the Nuggets are better, but I agree that the Bucks have certainly gotten better with this move. And Lillard's gonna be amazing, and this is a good move for them because I think it's something I've alluded to on earlier podcasts that I felt like the Bucks are just getting a little bit older, and now is probably the time to make a move, either getting rid of Drew or Middleton, in order to make the team like a little bit better and to extend their window because it felt like it was closing with Drew getting old, Middleton getting old, and like Brook Lopez is like 37. So I don't know if the Bucks listen to that podcast, but they made a great move. It's definitely keep Giannis happy for a couple more years and definitely not only extend their window, but like just like give them a way better shot because they didn't look great last season.
Yeah, no, you kind of called it. You were saying, hey, the Bucks, I think a big move could be coming. I mean, we didn't see it manifesting in this way. Obviously, Giannis kept being a bit, kind of alluding to the fact that kind of these weird comments of he wants to just win, be somewhere where they win. So maybe he was putting a bit of pressure internally on the Bucks organization, and it manifested quicker than we could have imagined, and they took an opportunity. Funny because there are rumors of collusion, and I'm kind of interested if how legitimate those rumors are. I see Butler made a video. I see Hero kind of liked that video.
So weird. I don't get it because the Heat also like so obviously colluded with Lillard earlier in the season. So it's like
Good
this is
point.
like the most hypocritical thing I've ever heard of. Like it was like the most blatant collusion. That Lillard like essentially came out and was like, Miami is the only team I want to be traded to. And then Miami's like, wow, what a coincidence. Like, we want to trade for you. That's perfect. That's great. It's like they're obviously talking. And that's like the whole reason why people have agents. It's because their agents are allowed to go talk to, GMs and it's technically not tampering. So I think it's fine. I don't even see really what the issue is that they're like alluding to. Like I just don't know what the problem is.
I can't imagine what the tampering would be or how that would.
I mean, like maybe they're worried that someone kind of went behind the back and was like, "Oh, actually, the Bucks are interested, Damian. Like, you know, would you play for them if they traded for you?" And he was probably like, "Oh yeah, I would. Like, Giannis is amazing. Like that works for me." But like, I don't see the problem. And like, two is like, you can't prove that. And like, again, that's why they have agents because legally, like, the agents are allowed to do that on behalf of their players. The Heat are just butthurt because they're screwed now. Like, if I feel like this like slams their window shut because it's like although like they've been like knocking on the door, and feel like they've been close to putting together a team that is like championship caliber. It's been clear in the finals that like they don't have enough talent to beat the best teams in the West, and the window's just like closing. It's like Butler's getting older, Lowry's clearly washed. They let go of Vincent, they let go of Struce, replace them with nothing. So it feels like it feels like it's coming to a close for them unless they can segue to somebody else to strengthen their roster.
It's too bad for them though, because I think they did offer the best possible package they could.
It was a good deal, and like for a while, that felt like the obvious choice for them. How do you feel about that? Do you still think the hero package is better, or do you favor Aiden and the picks and Holiday?
I think I favor the Heat package just because if I'm not mistaken, it was 3 first-round picks, not swaps, not 2 swaps. And then
Yeah, I'm not sure about that though, because I feel like they always talk about it that way, and then when the draft actually or the trade actually comes out, then it's like, oh, okay, some of these are actually swaps.
okay, fair enough. But even with that being said, I mean it's close, but I think in a vacuum I would take Hero over Ayton. Maybe that's crazy. Maybe I'm wrong
I don't think
here.
I don't think it's like totally crazy. I think you could definitely make the argument. I don't know. I'm just personally very intrigued by Aiden's potential because I feel like with Hero, it's like we know what he is. I'm gonna go 2K ratings. I feel like Tyler Hero like strong like 85 and 2K. That's what you're getting, and that's like awesome, phenomenal shooter. Feels like a great fit next to Scoot. And like Aiden, like he's probably at like I give him like a 78 in 2K right now, but I feel like he could get up to like an 88, 90 in 2K, depending on how his season goes. So I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued by his upside. And maybe also the Blazers are just more bullish on some of their other young guards, and just think they can end up being really good players next to Scoot because they do have Shaden Sharp, who I love. I think he's such a great talent. So I like the idea of him starting at the two guard. They also have Anthony Simons, and I feel like they might have one other fun guard, but really it's like Sharp is a guy who I really like, and I think Simons is good off the bench.
Yeah. For some reason, I do like Shaden Sharp, but I don't know. I'm not super bullish on him. Funny because he was 15th on Bleacher Report's list. I don't think we even mentioned him. He probably should have been in the honorable mentions, but
Yeah, but like also it's like it's the
yeah,
average like 8 points per game. Like
yeah,
I see the potential a little bit, but I don't know if he's like in the tier of like because like for example like Scotty Barnes like didn't even crack our top 15, so it's like how are
right.
we gonna like Shaden's like not in that league. Yeah,
He
no.
made Bleacher Report's top 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he can play the forward, obviously. So I think it's more likely that he starts, obviously. But I think Anthony is a very, very good player. And it's too bad that he won't be able to start because I mean he's a liability defensively, but he is one of the
Totally.
best
Which is like I
shooters.
agree. And I think that's like something that's such a shame about Anthony is like he is like this incredibly talented offense player, but I do think his defense is so bad that I don't know if he ever can start because of that, which is kind of crazy because he's so talented.
I
And I
mean,
don't know.
they
I
get
feel
rid
like
of
he's gonna be hard.
Drew. They get rid of
What's up?
Drew. There might just be like enough of a
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I would just rather not start him. He can still play 30 minutes per game. I don't know. I just don't want him starting.
okay.
And I think that's probably also because they have Scoot, and I really just want Scoot to run the show.
I will say though,
Um,
kind of circling back to your question of which package is better, it'll be very interesting to see the return for Drew. And I don't think they're gonna get much back, but I think there are for sure like some contenders like the Clippers, maybe the Raptors, maybe the Heat will kind of reach out and see if they can land Drew, which would be kind
yeah,
of ironic because he'd be kind of a Lowry replacement.
I think it makes a ton of sense. And he's making 37 million this year. He's on expiring, so he's not going to be expensive to acquire. So, for
Yeah.
example, a team like the Heat could acquire Holiday for less than they would get Lillard. Um, and then they could keep Hero and add Holiday, and that would be like a huge upgrade. So if instead they just like sent over, I'll say they send over one first round pick, two second round picks, Kyle Lowry for Holiday, like I feel like that's fair, and that makes them really good with Holiday, Hero, Butler, Bam.
Yeah, I'm trying to. How much does Lowry make? Does his? Yeah, he makes 28, I think.
I think he makes yeah, he makes almost 30. I remember they gave him a big contract coming from Toronto. So they probably need to include like one more player to make that work, but I'm sure they have some salaries on their roster they can include to make up that other 9 million.
Yeah, easy enough. Yeah, I think it's most likely he ends up with the Heat.
Yeah,
Maybe.
which is crazy because then I take back everything I said about their window closing. Like, it feels like it's closing right now, but it's not closed. Because if they can make a move for someone like Holiday, I think that opens it again.
And yeah, it should be noted that Hero did not play like the majority of the playoffs. He was not playing. He broke his hand early on, and then he played a couple games in the finals, maybe.
Yeah, but I think his minutes were limited, and like there was even a game where like he was able to play, and Spoelstra was like this still feels too soon. Like we're gonna essentially like healthy scratch you. So it's like although like technically at the end he was back, they weren't using him nearly to his full capacity. He was essentially like a decoy.
Yeah, I really like Hero. I think he's super tough. I think he's more than just like kind of a one trick pony and like simply a scorer. I mean he's a good rebounder, obviously, but I think he just makes great reads. He's smart. He's better inside than people give him credit for, and then
Yeah.
defense is meh, but he's not a total liability there anyway. So
Yeah, and he is someone who he's a very explosive scorer too. Like sometimes he will have those days where he just goes off and scores 40. But he's not streaky because it feels like you're always going to get 20 points out of him. But there's always also the possibility that he shoots 7 for 10 from three, and puts the Heat up by 20 in the first half. So he's super valuable, and that kind of scoring and shooting um, is really valuable in the NBA, and I still feel like it's slightly underrated. Um,
yeah,
I feel like players of his caliber should always go higher in the draft than they do.
yeah, you've mentioned that, especially with Grady in the past draft. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, he shoots like 36%, and he takes some pretty crazy shots. Um, People kind of say that he should try playing off ball a little more, and there might be some validity to that, but he's a great player regardless. So
Yeah, yeah, and I think that'll come, and I think part of it also is like I think he had to take on additional ball handling duties after they made the Lowry move because it did kind of turn out that Lowry wasn't great when they did that, so they
yeah,
did need somebody to kind of step up and be another ball handler next to Butler because it clearly couldn't be Lowry. But if they do get an actual point guard like Drew Holiday, then I think we would probably see Hero doing some more off-ball play.
for sure. Yeah, I wanted to ask you also. There was a report. I don't know how legitimate the source is. It's from NBA Central. I didn't actually check if it was the official one, but I think it's true. And it was something along the lines of the Raptors weren't willing to include a package with OG. Did you see that?
I did not see that report, but I don't even know what they would be trading if they weren't including OG. Because I feel like just to make salaries work, unless they were trying to trade Siakam,
Interesting. Yeah. Well,
could be it. But I think that's the only way. But Siakam's expiring. So Siakam doesn't really have any value. So maybe it'd be like Siakam, Grady Dick, and a couple of picks. But then, as we alluded to the other day, it's like, why would you take Grady Dick, who might be Tyler Hero someday, when you can just take Tyler Hero? So I don't know if the Raptors were really ever in this. I don't really know. It's open with Masai Ujiri. I don't know. He hit his home run with Kawhi Leonard, and like ever since then, I just like I don't know. I just don't totally know if he's like in the game. Like I feel like he's not. I feel like he hasn't been nearly as sharp as some other GMs out there. Like he's really like he's sat on his hand. He's overvalued his hand and he sat on it, and he's essentially just like running out of time on his assets.
yeah, well said. I saw another thing. Again, don't know how valid, if it's even true, but it was like some report. I don't know who said it, so take it with a grain of salt. But saying that he kind of like puts together all these packages and then last second kind of pulls out of the trade, and he's kind of
Oh,
immature.
totally. He's like it's like in fantasy football, like when you're trying to trade
Yes.
with one of your buddies, and you're like, "Oh, would you do this trade?" And they're like, like yeah, I would do that trade. I think that's a good deal for both of us. And then they're like, no, no, if you like that deal, that means I'm probably getting ripped off, so I'm not going to do it. Like, they try to play it like, oh, I was just trying to get a feel for like what this person's value is on the market, and it's like you don't need to like straight up pull out of trades to figure that out. It's like you know what their value is. It's like you're just getting cold feet or you're not confident enough in your moves. I don't know what it is, but they're literally letting so many assets just expire. Like Lowry, they had to sign and trade away, or they did get Precious Achua for him at least, who's like not great, but like an asset. But like right now, how it's looking is like Siakam went from being like valuable to now an expiring, to where they'll either have to flip him for almost nothing at the deadline or let him walk for nothing at the end of the season. I think Anunoby is also an expiring now. Is he? I
He's got
forget. He's getting
the player option, but he's probably
okay.
going to opt out of it because it's like,
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, yeah. All right, so we're gonna say he's essentially also an expiring then. So that dramatically reduces his value on the trade market then, and he's been in trade talks for so long. I think they were offered up to like 3 or 4 first round picks last season for Ananobi, and they're not going to get close to that now that he's expiring. So I don't know. It's like they're just kind of like losing everything they had. I think it's just gonna force them into a rebuild, but
I
they
bet
they do have some parts to do it.
I bet he gives OG a massive contract for no reason.
Maybe that would suck. We'll see. I do kind of think that they'll keep one of those guys because Siakam. I don't know why. I just kind of get the vibe that like Siakam like wouldn't mind sticking around in Toronto. Like I haven't heard anything about him being unhappy there or wanting to play for a contender or something like that. So I don't think it's out of the question that they do let his contract expire. let him go to market, see if anyone offers him a max. If not, pay him like 35 million a year for like 4 seasons or something. So maybe it's not like as dire as we think in Toronto, but it is just weird kind of like seeing them butt into every trade just to be absolutely like not even close to actually making a deal happen.
Yeah, and ultimately they have three forwards that kind of clash in play style. So until that's resolved, I think, like you said, it might not be like as dire if they can manage to, this is still a solvable case, but yeah, no, it's iffy. They're on shaky grounds, I guess.
And I also don't know what's up with the reporting when it comes to Toronto. Because it feels like with all these trades, like we always get these big reports. Like, 2 days ago, we were getting word that like the Raptors are now the favorites to land, Lillard. But then we found out today if the deal happened that like they were not even close, like they weren't including anybody. Last season they're like it was pretty much guaranteed that Anunoby was getting traded. That didn't happen. So I don't know. It's weird. Like we always have these like huge rumors. Same with like KD. Like there are always these like big rumors swirling that like they're about to get a deal done, and it never happens. And I don't know if they have like someone in the front office that's like bamboozling reporters and like calling them and giving them fake information. But I'm saying it now. Like don't trust anything you hear about the Raptors. Don't trust any of the rumors. 9 out of 10 times it's fucking bullshit.
What's his name again? The GM or
Masai Ujiri.
yeah, I mean it might just be because of how he handles things and how he's always on the cusp of something and last second says, the classic, well, if you're willing to trade this, then I must be getting ripped off. I'm out of here. Who
Yeah,
knows? Or Canadians are just deceptive people. I'm kidding.
yeah. Are there any other like big stakeholders we've missed? So like the Raptors kind of wanted to get involved. I guess we haven't touched on the Sixers yet, who are now kind of interested in Drew Holiday. Um, I don't know how they make that move. That's kind of a report that I've thrown out because I'm like, I don't see how that happens unless unless they trade
They
Maxi,
trade
which would be
Harden.
disgusting. I don't think they'd ever trade Maxi. I don't think they would trade Harden because I don't think the Blazers
Right.
want Harden. So I don't think that would happen. So I've kind of thrown that out. I heard whispers a little bit. I like the idea of the Drew Holiday homecoming, but I just don't see how that works.
Right. I think Maxi and Harden are the only contracts that make that work. So
Unless like maybe Tobias Harris makes
maybe
enough to make that
Tobias.
move. And then you've got Oubre to replace him, but then you also have James Harden, Maxi, and Holiday, and I don't really love that. But I don't know. If they find another move for Harden to get Harden out of there and then also make a move for Holiday, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's a 3-team deal somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, maybe a three-team deal is always possible. I'd like to see the full circle, the homecoming. I always like to see that, but who knows? I
Yeah.
guess the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on, I just made a note of kind of I agree that the Bucks are now kind of the best team in the East. I think Lillard and Giannis pick and roll is such a scary concept. I'm terrified. Lillard, the way he spaces the floor, and Giannis with that much more space is just a scary thought. But I do think this team lacks depth. I have faith that Middleton's gonna have a bit of a bounce back, but between, you know, what is Connaughton gonna start now? And then,
Yeah.
rookie
I don't know. Maybe they can promote one of the Antetokounmpo bros. Gotta get Thanasis in the starting line. They have Myers Leonard now. Fun fact: I saw him in Kentucky at Railbird. He's very tall in person. Um, yeah, I guess he's on their team. Okay, that's interesting. Good for him. He's back.
he said an anti-Semitic slur on like Xbox and got basically is
the exiled from the league for like 5 or 6 years.
for a brief moment.
Yeah, kind of looking at. I mean, maybe there's some potential on here. Like I see, they
Yeah.
have Malik Beasley now, who's like decent. Um, he's actually a great shooter. It's like that could be kind of exciting. Um,
Then it's
do they still have Jay Crowder? I guess they have Jay Crowder again.
yeah, Jay Crowder and Bobby
Okay.
Portis and
Yeah, they have some forward depth there, which is good. But the guards are like really thin. Like
extremely, yeah.
you got Lillard, and it's like I don't even really know who your backup point guard is on this team. Um, but we'll see. Maybe there's still time for them to make moves because they essentially did offload a couple of contracts with this move. Well, not really, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it does feel a little bit thin. So I think that's like a fair point to make. I still think they'll be dangerous though, and I think they've done a perfect job of surrounding Giannis with shooting because everyone can shoot the lights out now. It's like Lillard lights out, also great closer. They've had decent closing, but like Giannis and Drew are a little inefficient in the clutch. Middleton's been good, but he's been kind of hurt. So adding someone like Lillard, who's like literally like the best closer in the league, is such a good addition. If they ever find themselves in a close playoff game and need someone to bail them out, Lillard is really the best player to do it.
Yeah, the offense for sure looked pretty shaky last year. And like you said, Middleton, I think, is a huge part of that because he's an incredible player at his peak, like so good. I mean, all those Bucks Celtics series, he was kicking our ass. I still remember him hitting a like half court buzzer beater after Terry hit a crazy one, and then I think they beat us in OT. But
That was an insane game.
all that to say that the Bucks are going to be scary, and as a Celtics fan, I think I'm more scared of this Bucks team than I would have been of the Heat. Although I really thought it would have been such a nice fit with Lillard on the Heat. Lillard and Giannis together with Middleton, and Brook Lopez is getting older, but him and Portis are still like great players. Like that's
Yeah, yeah. What I will say is like I'm expecting a good bounce back season from Chris Middleton after being fairly injured because looking at contracts, I'm sure they have the option to either trade Middleton or Holiday. And I think they probably chose to trade Drew. And it's like, yes, that's
for
because
sure.
Lillard's essentially like replacing at the point guard position, but they certainly could have ran Drew and Lillard together. But I think the Bucks front office made a conscious decision and decided they think the team is going to be better with Lillard, Giannis, Middleton rather than Drew, Lillard, Giannis. So I think that's a good sign and just makes a ton of sense because Middleton's a great shooter. So you just have so much shooting around Giannis now.
Yeah, and obviously they get a point guard back, so it makes all the sense. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I like it. I think it's a huge win for the Bucks. I think they're definitely contending with the Celtics now for top of the East. It's become an arms race with the Celtics adding KP and the Bucks adding Lillard. So we'll see which one of them prevails. But now it feels like the ball is kind of in the court of some of the other teams in the East to try to get into that same tier as the Bucks and Celtics now.
an arms race is a funny way to put it. All right, we have a minute and a half left. Should we grade each team and then sign off?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna say A+ for the Bucks. I think phenomenal. You're adding Lillard like speaks for itself. I'd say Trailblazers for their return. I'm gonna give them a B+. I think it's a good move. It's like obviously you're gonna trade someone as good as Lillard. It's like you almost want to get back like 8 first round picks, but obviously their options were kind of limited based on you know Lillard's wishes. But I still think they did fairly well for themselves given the situation. And then I'm gonna give the Suns. I'm gonna give them like a C+. Like I don't like love it. I understand the move. But I don't think it makes them better, and I think it's kind of boring.
I was going to give the same exact grades. So well
Perfect.
said. I think we are in agreement. And yeah, this is going to go up, I think, in an hour. People were DMing us, texting us left and right. Get your opinion out there. But we wanted to take some time, gather our thoughts, as we do here on the McBasketball show. So that's it for us. We have less than a minute. So sign us off, Harry, and let's get out of here.
Yeah, make sure to get in the comments. Let us know what your grades are for each team's in this trade. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again this weekend.
God bless everyone. Love you.